welcome to today's explainer. We live in a world that is just incredibly loud. Everywhere you look, people are shouting to be heard, desperately trying to prove themselves, and honestly treating volume as if it's the ultimate measure of confidence. Society basically tells us that if you want to be powerful, well, you need to make a lot of noise. You've got to dominate the conversation. But what if that's a complete illusion? What if the most dangerous, calculated, and powerful minds in the room are actually doing the exact opposite? Take a second and just let this thought sink in. The smartest person in the room is usually the quietest. It feels kind of counterintuitive, doesn't it? While everyone else is fighting tooth and nail just to get a word in edgewise, highly intelligent people, they just sit back and observe. They understand this fundamental truth of human behavior that, frankly, most of us completely miss. They know that silence isn't an absence of thought. No, silence is absolute power. Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1, the illusion of volume. Silence is power. To really grasp this power, we first have to break down what we're calling the illusion of volume. Society has sort of hardwired us to equate speaking louder with being more capable. But truly intelligent people, they don't waste a single drop of energy trying to impress anyone. Picture this dynamic for a second. Two people are sitting in a room. On one side, you've got the average person, a nervous, oversharing talker trying to fill literally every single second with words. They explain themselves unnecessarily, mostly because human beings are just terrified of awkward silence. On the other side, though, you have the calm, quiet observer watching carefully. They aren't rushing to fill the void at all. So look at that dynamic. I really want to ask you directly, as you picture this room in your head, who looks more powerful? The one desperately scrambling for validation, or the one entirely at ease with the quiet?
Exactly, the silent one. And the reason is super simple. Silence creates an obsession-inducing mystery. When you don't broadcast your every single thought, people become obsessed with figuring you out. They start wondering, what are they thinking? Why aren't they reacting? Wait, do they know something I don't? That psychological tension completely flips the dynamic. It gives the quiet person invisible power. Because at the end of the day, mystery controls attention.
Moving right along. Section 2, the power of observation. Listening to understand. So let's look at the mechanics of how this actually works. There is a massive, game-changing difference in how an average person listens compared to an intelligent mind. Average people listen merely to reply. Actually, scratch that. It's more like they're just waiting for their turn to speak. But intelligent people, they listen to understand. They operate on this highly calculated internal loop. Step 1, watch. Step 2, analyze. Step 3, understand. While everyone else is busy proving themselves and making a ton of noise, smart people are quietly collecting critical information. They're processing emotions, mapping out intentions, and finding hidden weaknesses. Now consider the dark observational skills they possess. Look at what the silent observer is actually noticing while everyone else is distracted. They catch the slight tone changes, those fake smiles that don't quite reach the eyes, the nervous physical habits, sudden flashes of hidden jealousy, and deep-seated emotional weaknesses. And why do they catch all of this? Because when you talk less, your brain naturally frees up a massive surplus of space and energy to simply observe. Make no mistake, observation is absolutely one of the highest forms of intelligence. Think about grandmaster chess players for a second. It's literally like watching a giant puzzle unfold. The absolute best players in the world don't just sprint up to the board and start frantically moving pieces around. No way. They sit quietly, they watch, they calculate every single possibility before they even twitch a muscle. And this brilliantly illustrates our core definition for this explainer. Intelligence is not an emotional reaction. It is calculated awareness. Most people react instantly to the world around them, right? They get angry fast, defensive fast, emotional fast. But the quiet observer, they know better. Which brings us perfectly to Section 3, emotional control. Silence protects energy. You see, silence isn't just about watching other people. It acts as highly effective defensive armor. It literally protects your personal energy against the drain of rapid, thoughtless emotional reactions. The intelligent mind intimately understands this very dangerous truth. Emotions reveal control. The very second that someone else can dictate your emotional state, like the moment they can make you predictably angry or desperately sad, they control you completely. And that is exactly why intelligent people maintain their calm. They stay calm even when they're insulated directly, when they're challenged aggressively, or even when they're completely misunderstood by the people around them. By refusing to get angry or defensive right off the bat, they maintain complete mental superiority.
A calm mind can see 100 things that an emotional, frantic mind is just completely blind to.
So the crucial point here is this deep contrast. Society's assumption of weakness versus the reality of silent calculation. Because us humans, we tend to judge intelligence by noise and outward confidence. So people wildly underestimate quiet individuals. They just assume that if you aren't talking, you must be weak or maybe a bit slow. But introverts and deep thinkers simply know something profound. Words cannot ever be taken back. That's why they speak carefully, and why, when they finally do open their mouths, absolutely everyone in the room listens. All right, section 4, the mirror effect. Weaponized silence. Let's get into it. This whole concept builds into something even more potent, where silence actually becomes weaponized. There's kind of a disturbing reality to human interaction. If you stay silent long enough, people will unconsciously expose themselves. Seriously, silence creates this immense psychological pressure, and just to relieve that awkward pressure, people will start revealing their deepest insecurities, their unearned arrogance, their desperation, and even their manipulation tactics. The silence literally forces people to nervously overshare and confront themselves, which, let's be honest, most humans are incredibly uncomfortable doing. In these tense moments, silent people become mirrors. And this is precisely why highly manipulated people absolutely hate calm, quiet individuals. A manipulator relies on getting an emotional reaction to pull your strings, but calm people, they can't be controlled emotionally. Instead, they just stand there, silently reflecting the manipulator's own glaring flaws and toxic behaviors right back at them. Section 5, the silent ocean, the dark side. We have to acknowledge that there is a darker reality to this powerful, calculated quiet. Often, it actually has deeply painful origins. Many of the most intelligent, observant people stay silent because they simply no longer trust easily. They've lived through the harsh roots of lost trust, fake loyalty, fake love, and fake friendships. Betrayal is a strict teacher, for sure. So instead of constantly exhausting themselves by trying to explain who they are to a world that just doesn't listen, they disappear emotionally. Because the honest truth is, not everyone deserves access to your mind. It is incredibly vital to understand that this withdrawal isn't weakness. Not at all. In a world that is completely desperate for attention, keeping your thoughts to yourself is a powerful protective measure. Sometimes the quietest people are the ones carrying the absolute deepest pain. If you are someone who thinks deeply, who observes quietly, and speaks carefully, never, ever mistake your silence for a lack of strength. I absolutely love this cinematic metaphor from our source material, because oceans are silent too, and yet they can destroy everything. Wow. It perfectly encapsulates the quiet, overwhelming power of a calculated mind. To summarize this whole reframing we've been exploring, consider this final contrast. The loudest person in the room may capture attention. They might make everyone turn and look at them for a fleeting second. But the quietest person, the one who watches, analyzes, and maintains absolute emotional control, that is the person who actually controls the room. That is the true invisible power of intelligence. So, I want to leave you with this final thought to ponder today. Now that you understand the mechanics of silence, observation, and emotional control, once you truly understand how people operate under the surface, will you ever see a loud room the same way again? Thank you so much for watching this explainer, and I really hope this completely changes how you view the quietest person in the room.